So at this point, we're on page 15. Am I right?
Yeah.
And here the homage is important. It's meant to seal our experiential connection with Chenrezig. Chenrezig sitting on the crown of our heads. Again, just a reminder, you are meant to have the sense of a living presence there, not like a lightweight bronze statue above your head. So one thing that happens, which at some time or another everyone will experience, which is that Chenrezig does things which are not predictable, just like real people. And the nice thing about any kind of movement of Chenrezig's body in your experience is that you can just take it as a reminder. This is a living presence, not just some hologram generated by some fancy light. So that's important. Now, having assembled all of the symbols of Chenrezig, then we have a kind of an optimum sense of what this being is, having been emanated by the Buddha Amitabha, and Chenrezig experiencing Buddha Amitabha as his guru. And we, through our efforts and aspirations, witness that happening over and over and over again every time we engage in the practice. So it's meant to be not a chore, but an opportunity. So we'll recite the liturgy here. Let's recite it once in English and twice in Tibetan. If you could lead us in that, Melinda. Thank you.
Noble one,
Untainted by the mire, your form is luminous white. A perfect awakened one adorns your head. With the eyes of compassion you gaze upon me. To Chenrezig we bow. Our text, like most of the texts in the Vajrayana, is comprised of various pieces. The root text, we call it, is the kind of the basis of the rest of the text, and so there are various recitations in here that are not originally part of the text but were later added to the text. So one can construct a shorter session or a longer session by inserting and removing those pieces. So I don't want to get into that right now, but the seven branch prayer is an insertion which is inserted in lots of different texts. I'm going to just skip past that. And now we come to, what are we doing? On page 23 we have the prayer of Chenrezig, Gelong Pema Karpo's heart practice. Now here again, we could go through it in detail, but I'll just say a little bit about it, then we'll recite it in Tibetan, and you can engage in the visualization without knowing any more about it than what we just covered briefly. Gelong Pema Karpo's heart practice. This prayer is in here for an interesting reason. There was a great Shangpa master in the Shangpa lineage whose name was Tongtong Gyalpo, and this is written in small print on the back of page 30. Tonton Gyalpo was famous for a lot of things, and renowned for realization and all. He apparently recalls having recited this prayer, the prayer of Chenrezig Gelong Pema Karpo's practice. Tonton Gyalpo recalls having recited that prayer when he was Gelong Pema Karpo. and so this prayer ends up as an insert in here, and in essence what it does is it makes the entire practice a Shangpa, part of the Shangpa tradition. So this is often how we bring, we take a text that many different people do, or many different lineages do, like Chenrezig, which is ubiquitous, and each place that you do Chenrezig, if you go to monasteries, you'll find there's a little difference between them. Sometimes the practice itself has changed remarkably, and sometimes not so much. But they'll add a prayer that is generally from someone that is of that particular lineage, and so it just kind of brings that into that lineage then. So then you recognize some of the practice that you're doing, and some of it you have this like, what's this? And it's usually like this sort of thing. So Kala Rinpoche is the one who put this insert into this prayer, which raises another slight point. Only certain people can do this. You know? So it's not meant to be a mishmash. Okay, so what's going on in this prayer is a number of things. One is, on page 23, we have an homage to Chenrezig. And the homage is like the other one, I pray to you, Lama Chenrezig, and it's like asking for connection with Chenrezig, really, looking for connection. And making statements about how all beings rely upon your compassion and so on. That's the beginning of that prayer. Then, starting on page 25, and you don't have to remember this if you can't or don't wish to, or some combination of the two. It'll come again through repetition, like everybody else, every other thing. After 24, page 24, we then come to what's really going on with this insert, which is the work of Chenrezig. So almost all of the deities in the Vajrayana have a job to do. They literally have a job description, you could say. Something that they do that others may do also, but maybe this deity does it slightly differently. So in Chenrezig's case, it's really, the job is take care of all sentient beings. So it is really the kind of the living manifestation of the aspiration for bodhicitta. Chenrezig then rises to the occasion in this prayer. So some form of this prayer will be in every Chenrezig practice. Some form of it. Shorter, longer. I mean, this prayer could be 2 hours long or 2 minutes. It could be anything. But it's always coming there. So Chenrezig's life work then is to take care of sentient beings. Well, sentient beings populate what we call the 6 realms, ranging from the worst states, which we call the hell realms, not exactly like a Christian hell, but so it's a little unfortunate that it gets that translation, but nonetheless, that's what it's called. So the hell realms are the worst states. Then we have the hungry ghosts, which are beings who suffer from such terrible greed that even when they encounter the object that they want, they can't have it for various reasons. Like they could be starving, and so they really are, they're willing to eat almost anything they can get their hands on, but their mouths are often characterized as being the size of a thin straw. So they can't actually eat through that straw, and even liquid, the straw is so thin that they could never quench their thirst by just sucking liquid through that tiny little mouth. So they're often symbolized as having bodies the size of Mount Everest, and with these little tiny heads that are so small that it could never actually satisfy its desire for food and warmth and everything. They can't get it. So Chenrezig has a job. He has to take care of the hell beings. He has to take care of the hungry ghosts. Then we have the animals. The animal realms must also be taken care of. They're kind of like third from the bottom. So in some cases, like if you're somebody's house pet, maybe it's not such a bad existence sometimes. but fundamentally, you are still experiencing the ripening of the karma that landed you in that realm. So it's not a good existence. And many animals, as we know, are beasts of burden. They have to carry things and work really hard all the time. They're slaughtered for their meat and so on. So being an animal is not great shakes. Then we come into the human realm. The human realm has its own problems, of course, as we all know. But we might not have known that it shares a problem that it had millennia ago, which is excess activity. This was not invented in the modern age. It was actually going on a long time ago, and so it's ended up in these texts that existed in thousands of years ago. So Chenrezig also has to take care of the human beings, since they are also very much closer to actually accomplishing the Dharma and benefiting all beings. It's especially important to take care of them, but not really more important than the other animals too. I mean the other beings as well as the animals. Okay, so then we come to did I skip something here? Humans. Then we come to the Asuras, or the what we kind of sometimes call the jealous gods. So there are kind of two god realms. There's the jealous gods, and then there's the gods. And the jealous gods and the gods share almost nothing. In the god realm, things are really good, and one lives for a very long time. It's a kind of a pleasant existence until the very end. And the very end is characterized by a great fear of anyone dying, so that someone who dies in the god realms, it's said, they are abandoned by their family and friends because it's so terrifying to see someone die. So they die alone. And also, since they have extraordinary clairvoyance, the ability to see into the future, they see what their future life will be, and there's no way it can be as good as what they have, since they're going down. And so they see it, and that's also terrifying, plus they're left alone by all of their friends and family and so on. So not a good way to die. And so we don't say that the God realm is outside of samsara. It is as deeply entrenched in samsara as the hell realm is. It's just that it's a respite, a period of enjoyment. And one lives very long lives, and so there's many things that are taught about the God realms. The important thing here is that Chenrezig has to deal with them too. That's important. So, what do we have? We can read it through once in Tibetan. So here now, we have not read it in English, but what you can imagine is what you imagine if you're reading it anyway. And that is that there are these 6 realms, and there's subdivisions of those 6 realms. So there's really kind of 6 major realms, but some of them have 30 or 40 subdivisions and all. And I think a reasonable person might wonder if, in fact, there isn't any limit to the subdivisions and the realms. That may have just been a cultural thing, that actually the realms are unlimited. So the issue is, how do you get someone out of that realm into a state which is closer to full realization? And that's Chenrezig's job description, to say it slightly tongue-in-cheek. he rises to that occasion by the following method. We recall the hell realms. And when we recall the hell realms, we think momentarily about all the beings in there, their suffering and the causes of suffering. They keep experiencing all of that. So we imagine that from Chenrezig's body, light radiates in all directions, these 5 colored lights. The 5 colored lights also deal with the particular defilements. And so this light strikes all the beings in the hell realms. And when it strikes them instantly, those beings are completely freed of all the suffering in the hell realms and freed of the causes also. So one by one, we go through each of the realms and imagine this occurring so that samsara by the end is completely emptied. So you can do it realm by realm, but if you don't know the realms, it's okay. Just during the recitation, you imagine that this light is just going out. Beings are being freed of the suffering and its causes. More light goes out. Beings are being freed of the suffering and its causes. Just continuously is happening. So let's see, where do we start here? We start on page 23. And we're going to go up to page 29. Yeah, up to page 29.
You don't want to do page 30, Mama?
Not yet. Why, should I?
You should.
No. Page 29. Then 30. Chenrezig, so adem so yidam Chenrezig, so adem so acho Chenrezig, so adem so kyakon Chenrezig, so adem so jangon Chenrezig, tu jezoshi kyawadu jejen, tame kowa rame kanjuchen, zebe dudel nyawero wa, gombo kile kyabshen mashiso, Nangel sangel tobaji nilo tokmedune leinen sagbetu shedon wangi nyawake yunte sadron dunya nyawezem shenan lacho keki drunduke warshok omani permeo medune leinen sabetu sene wangi danezuge rekondunya yomwesem shenam shinchokotalayuge warshok omani pemeo tomedune le Now this last page that we're on, just finished, good to know what that means. So the English here tells us, as the practitioner we're reciting this, life after life, I'm saying to myself, with actions equaling Chenrezig's, in other words, may I rise to that level of understanding and ability. May I liberate beings from impure realms and spread the perfect sound of the 6 syllables in the 10 directions. So again, this is manifesting bodhicitta. By the power of praying to you, perfect noble one, that's Chenrezig, may the beings be trained by me. Take heed. There's a missing word in there. It means here, may the beings who will be trained by me take heed of action and result and strive for virtuous activity. So that prayer on that side finishes. It finishes on the next side. You're right. May they possess the Dharma for the benefit of beings. Then we come down to the last part of this section. By praying one pointedly in this manner. So this actually refers back to the first homage that we did. By praying one pointedly in this manner, it refers back to the first homage right in the beginning. By praying one pointedly in this manner, light radiates from the body of the Noble One, and now it's referencing what is happening now. Light radiates from the body of the Noble One, purifies impure karma, so it strikes all the beings in all the realms, and in each of the realms, for each of the beings, it purifies the impure karma. Appearance, impure appearance, and deluded mind. The outer environment becomes the realm of Dewa Chen. The body, speech, and mind of the inhabitants become the exalted body, speech, and mind of powerful Chenrezig. So you can see all of the forms of all the beings become the form of Chenrezig. And finally, appearance, sound, and awareness are inseparable with emptiness. So all of that comes about by virtue of the work of Chenrezig. So now we come to the mantra, and we recite the mantra for a little bit. Normally, you would recite it for at least 2 or 3 or 4 rounds of the mala. It's fairly fast. You could even do 10 or 20 rounds of the mala and be fine. While the mantra is going on, we continue with visualization. The visualization can be that we continue to imagine Chenrezig like going out, purifying the realms. That's one possibility. Another possibility is that you just listen to the sound of the mantra as it occurs. So when we're talking about the sound of the mantra, we're talking about all sound, not just the sound of people in this room reciting the mantra. The airplane that flies over it, that's the sound of the mantra. A car in the street, kids playing in the street. It's everything we do is, any sound is the sound of the mantra. So we're meant to experience all sound as pure, therefore. There's no such thing as bad sound. Even the lawnmower and the leaf blower. Just so you have a real challenge with it, you know? So take your pick, do one or the other, I would say, or if you know another one, use it. Use one visualization with recitation of the mantra is generally a good idea, so that we don't engage in the habit of jumping back and forth, more excess activity. So we'll start by, Linda can lead us in a little bit of singing the mantra, which is a nice start. Om Mani Padme Now, following the end of the mantra, there's a little small type at the bottom of page 32 that says, "Finally, rest in the very essence without conceiving of the three spheres." The three spheres are our usual experience of ourselves separate from others. So there's the self and the other, and the action which binds the two. So that the three spheres then is normally taught as the thing that keeps samsara working. So the idea is here we rest in the absence of those three spheres. However, before we do that, we need to dissolve the entire vision before us. And we do that by first imagining, still with Chenrezig on the crown of our heads, and on the crown of the head of Chenrezig, Amitabha. We imagine that the entire outer environment, all of the inanimate parts of it, the mountains, the rivers, the galaxies, if you will, all begin to dissolve into light. And those things dissolve completely into light. And that light is absorbed into all of the beings. And then following that, we imagine all of the animate aspects of the environment dissolving, that is to say, all the sentient beings, one by one, dissolving into light. And all of that light is then absorbed into Chenrezig on the crown of your head. Chenrezig in turn then begins to dissolve, first with Amitabha dissolving into Chenrezig, and then Chenrezig gradually dissolves into your own form as Chenrezig, and little by little that form also begins to dissolve into itself. In the heart of Chenrezig is a lotus and moon seat, and that letter Hri. So as you begin to dissolve from the feet up and the head down, Chenrezig dissolving into you as Chenrezig, you as Chenrezig. The Hri dissolves into the lotus and moon seat, and gradually you dissolve into the form of Chenrezig. And in Chenrezig's, the lotus and moon seat in the heart dissolves into itself. So we are left with a very small Hri is all that's there. And that Hri, through stages, gets smaller and smaller, thinner and thinner, but very bright. And as it gets smaller and smaller, it becomes like a pinhead, still extremely bright. But gradually, it gets so small that it disappears and dissolves into itself. And in that space, we rest for just a short time, without conceiving of anything. Now on page 33, on the first line in English, it says, "The apparitional bodies of myself and others are the body of the Noble One." So this is actually an instruction for how to rise from that emptiness. That is to say, we rise with the view that our bodies, however we experience them, they are actually apparitional. So the apparitional bodies of myself and others are the body of the Noble One. In other words, viewing our own form as apparitional is pretty much the same as viewing our own form as Chenrezig. Then the second instruction, sounds are the melody of 6 syllables, as we said before. Think of all sounds, view all sounds as the sound of the mantra. And finally, thought and memory are waves of great intrinsic awareness. This is a key instruction. Thought and memory are normally considered a defect and a hindrance to meditation. But here we take thought and memory to be the very essence of the nature of mind itself. So we say thought and memory are waves of great intrinsic awareness. In other words, it's identical. The more thoughts there are, the bigger the wave, but it's just a wave. By virtue of this, may I quickly accomplish the state of powerful Chenrezig and establish all beings without exception on that level. And then again, we turn the page. Oh, first, let me say, where it says, by this virtue, may I quickly accomplish. This is the formal dedication for Chenrezig. This is the only dedication for Chenrezig in this text that is part of the text. The others are all add-ons. So, by this virtue, may I quickly accomplish the state of powerful Chenrezig and establish all beings without exception on that level. So you can see also on page 35, 36, and 37, there's more dedication. Let's recite those 2 pages in English, and then we'll be done.
Through the merit of reciting
And meditating, may I and every being to whom I am connected, as soon as these impure forms are left behind, be miraculously born in the daylight Chen. Immediately then, having thoroughly traversed the 10 levels, may we benefit others with emanations in the 10 directions. By this virtue may all beings perfect the accumulation of merit and wisdom, and arising from merit and wisdom attain to sacred bodies. Bodhicitta is precious, may it arise in whom it has not arisen. Once arisen, may it ever grow and flourish. So we're going to have a lunch break, and it is not a requirement, but we normally break silence here. It's never not happened, but it's not a requirement. And an announcement. And after lunch at 1:30, we'll meet here and we'll have a little discussion on Chenrezig, which is usually
Just
good.
a reminder that there are so many people who brought so much food today, and there's so much going on in the kitchen. Try to narrow it down. If you're whoever's going to go in the kitchen to prepare the food, maybe just choose 3.
Good. Just one announcement, and it has to do, there's 2 announcements. 2 announcements. First, about streaming. KCC is going to switch our streaming service on April 10th from Ustream over to YouTube. So that'll start Sunday, April 10th. Just go check on the website. It'll have the link for you. And as far as I understand from the team doing this, they're going to be able to capture and save whatever's on Ustream and transfer it over, so you're not going to lose whatever's there. We are also looking, connected with streaming, for another person or 2 to stream the evening practice on Sunday, so that people can tune into that. So it's great merit. If you come on Sunday evenings, you'll just sit where Steve is there. You still get all the, you're still in the practices, but you're also helping people who can't get here to engage in the practices. So if you want to do that, see me or email to Jennifer Cox. And then we have other offering service opportunities. The one that's up right now is the warm weather's here. Dandelions are all over the backyard. We are looking for a couple of things. One, you can do like what Susan Giese and Adele did yesterday. They just came, committed 1 hour, did a whole lot in the front yard. You don't have to make it a big thing. Adele is coordinating, but she would like, after many years, to get someone else to start coordinating people, which is very easy on email. You just email back and forth, and what day are you coming? So we need people to do help with the basic watering and weeding and simple stuff like that. So please contact Adele Hilson if you want to do that, and if you don't know who she is, see me, and I'll connect you up. Thank you. Also, I just want to say 2 thank yous to volunteers this week. I mean, there's so many people that come through here, but Steve Parker right over there just made that beautiful wooden table that's under the bulletin board. It's gorgeous, and it looks so much better than the white bookcase. So you might note that. And Don Dyer, who comes here and fixes everything that breaks, including he's done plumbing upstairs, plumbing downstairs, organizing the basement in the last month. And he also did our banister, that our handrail that comes up off the sidewalk. You know, it was so wobbly. He put the struts in and sunk it in the cement and did that this week. So the banister actually is helpful for this when you instead of you touch it, it goes 6 inches.
Trick.
Yeah, now it's functioning as a handrail. So anyway, we are really grateful for those kind of helpful things. Thank you.